Simone Gao with Zooming In NTD TV. Some of the people have already touched upon this, but I just want to dig a little deeper. So when CDC make assessment of the epidemic, does it take into consideration that the official number from the Chinese CDC might still be very severely underestimated? Because, for example, the Chinese medical officials admitted that medical personnel admitted that the diagnostic kits they need to use to test the patients are very limited, only 10% of what they actually needed. And also we did an interview with one of the funeral homes in Wuhan City two days ago, and they said they have been absolutely overwhelmed. And they've been basically working 24/7, and 60% of the bodies they cremate are actually from home. 30% from hospitals. Obviously, those 60% of the bodies are not counted in the official number. So that's one question. I mean, is it still very, very severely underestimated? And question number two is regarding the quarantine center in China. We know China has this policy right now. If you have a symptom, it doesn't matter if you get a flu or anything else or coronavirus, you are forced to those quarantine centers. We have seen footages of this Fangchang quarantine center with 1,000 beds, like very close to each other. So my question is whether those will actually increase the possibility of cross-infection, or is it an effective way to control the spread of the epidemic? Thank you.
Yeah, thanks. Those are both really, really important questions. We absolutely assume that the reported cases are an underestimate. The early exportation of virus to a number of countries was used by mathematical modelers to estimate what the total cases must be. If we knew of 41 cases, but this many countries were seeing cases imported among travelers using the known numbers that travel, there were some estimates of under-reporting. And it's a mix of not hiding cases, but really trying to keep up either with the mild cases or, as you say, now that the disease is so common that the laboratory capacity can't keep up, or the kits aren't, there's not available kits. So we absolutely assume there's a much greater number of cases. And China's actually reporting what they call suspected cases, ones that haven't yet been tested. And then that's typically how we assess outbreaks and emerging infections. Your question about the quarantine center, theoretically a quarantine center should be people who have no symptoms, who are being observed to see, because you think they're higher risk than others because they've been exposed, you want to observe them, and at the first sign of symptoms, you want to move them out of exposure to anyone else so that they can be isolated. The concern about putting people who may be ill together could be a problem in terms of acquiring the infection. People who go in for something else like influenza or measles and then come down with the novel coronavirus. So that's why the circumstances of isolation are so critical. It's one of the reasons I believe that China built those hospitals with individual rooms so that they could keep people they knew were sick separate from others and safely care for them. But the ability to surge for a very large scale outbreak can be challenging for anyone.